These days, we have so many options to get our movie fix right in the comfort of our own home. But despite all the fears that theaters would go the way of the dodo bird, we also have lots of choices that way as well. We're joined by Brock professor Liz Clarke. And Liz, when I talk about going to a theater, I think these days of those big cushy seats that a lot of theaters are putting in now with the armrests, the heated seats, you can recline. Is that how they're convincing us to get out of the house, to leave Netflix?
Oh, definitely. I think not just the reclining seats. I think a lot of the theaters now have delivery of drinks and food to your assigned seat. We've seen this in like film history all the time, just new gimmicks to try to get people back into the theaters. I think this crisis of movie going has been around since movie going began. Yeah.
So those are the options for the first run movies, but we also have across Niagara a number of different options, a lot of municipalities offering their own repertory cinema, curated choices for movies, themes through 2 or 3 months full of movies. And I know Brock University has traditionally been involved in something like that. Is that still being offered?
Yeah, that's still offered. So the Brock University Film Series was, I think, maybe 40 years ago that it started up. So it's been the place to get kind of alternative movies or movies that would be, international movies or festival picks. It's been running in different variations for years. I think for a while, and this was before my time, it was you would go to Brock to watch in one of the larger lecture halls. For when I arrived at Brock, it was at the Landmark, and it's now in a kind of different form at the Film House downtown St. Catharines. Just changing with the times, as you said, streaming services are really competing with theaters. So for us running that film series, there's the kind of different periods. The first run movies, when they're out in things like the Landmark, they don't compete with the streaming services. And then when you have kind of a different release schedule, a few months down the road, the smaller movie theaters are competing with the streaming services. So you have to kind of account for a drop in numbers for those later run
I know you
screenings.
love to use streaming services and to watch as much television and movies as you can, but I want to ask you a question because I'm still reluctant when I see a fairly new movie being offered for rent for
Right.
I don't know, $10.99 or $24.99 to buy or whatever. I'm still reluctant to do that because I know I'm already paying a huge price for some of these streaming services. What's your take on that?
So, okay, so this is where what I was really interested to talk about, because I think that is something historically that um, we have to put it into context. And not that I'm defending the $24.99 cost of rentals, because I do realize that's pretty steep. But there are different phases that movies will go through, like the first run where it's only in theaters. And I think back to when I was younger and Blockbuster was around, there was a more distinct phase of the movie leaves the theaters, it's inaccessible for several months, and then it was available to buy, and then it was available to rent. And so there was a very distinct, like a distinct set of time periods. And what we're seeing now is that they're blurring together. But if you think to the pandemic era, when people were actually reluctant for health reasons or whatever, reluctant to go to the theater, I think what it was the studios or the distributors trying to compete with the theaters and imagining if your whole family sat down to watch a movie, it wouldn't be like you'd be saving the whatever $15 ticket fee,
Right.
right? You are not saving it, but you would be imagining, like, let's say 4 people sitting down to watch a movie.
Right.
I think that there's that. This is what we're seeing now that we hadn't seen historically, was this phase where it's still a new release. So you're choosing whether or not to go to the theater or to watch it at home. And I think that they're imagining that you're paying to like a group of people or maybe a couple that are watching it together. So we think of that rental fee as as in the old days, it's $4.99, and you do whatever whoever wants to watch it with you can watch it with you. But there's this new phase that we're starting to see that I think is putting people off because of the high cost, but it's not like it's a forever cost.
It's like a limbo. It's almost like the movie's in limbo. Here's another
Yeah.
topic for you to discuss when it comes to streaming services. Netflix has done it, Prime has done it, and now Crave is doing it. They are asking for more money, and if you don't pay more money, you're going to get some ads. Is that going to lose some business and drive people back to the theaters?
Oh, I think, yeah. I mean, I think it might send people back to the theaters. I think the other thing that we're seeing is people are rotating their streaming services, where a lot of my friends are saying that they'll pay for a month of subscription and rotate around. The cost of streaming right now is skyrocketing when we think about how many additional streaming sites we need to get. But yeah, the ads are bringing us back to traditional television in ways that I think people thought we were beyond. And I mean, TV scholars have always kind of predicted that this is what's coming back, that like either they're going to have to start bundling services, they're going to add advertisements back in. I think it's not a surprise to some people, though it is kind of off-putting to the viewers, I suppose.
Liz, that's all the time we have for this discussion. Here's a topic I want you to think about for the future.
Okay.
Streaming fatigue, not being able to find something and just not even being able to pick. So keep that in your mind for our next time. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for having me.